Hello there, my name is Lice, and today we're trying something different. If you've seen any of my previous videos, you can see that I like to work with base meshes. I like to either work with Dynamesh for something that is not, it's just a quick speed sculpt. But if I'm working on something long term, I like to use the subdivision method. So I like to have a base mesh that I can subdivide, and if I need to make big changes, I can go back to a lower subdivision. So I like to work with base meshes, but I do not like to reuse them because I found that the base meshes, they always keep kind of a memory of what they were before, and that means that when you're using the same base mesh all the time, it ends up showing and all your models kind of look the same. So which is not an issue if you're working on characters that are supposed to be in the same universe or supposed to look the same. But in my case, I like to start fresh, and so I like to block out. You can see I've made a block out video for Zbrush Core, but the principle applies to Zbrush all the same. So what I've made today is this character that I'm calling Blockout Boy. And I've made it in 5 minutes inside of 3ds Max, and you can do the same in any 3D package you want. You could do it inside of Zbrush. It was just faster for me to do it inside of Max, and you can see that the topology is awful, the polygon flow is awful, the mesh density is all over the place, but it doesn't matter because this is a throwaway character. I just wanted to have all the shapes I always tend to use. Plus, I've added a model of a hand because I found that blocking out the hands is always tedious and more work than it should be. So I brought in a model of a hand. I did cut the fingers off, capped them, and so everything is wrong here. And we are going to use this because by the end we are going to Dynamesh it and then Zbrush to have our actual base mesh. So this doesn't matter. I'll have a link in the description if you want to download and use this, but it could be just as fast for you to do the same thing, because once again the topology does not matter. So I've created it, made it symmetrical, imported it into Zbrush, then polygrouped it. So we have this nice and polygrouped character to work from. So what I like to do is have this underwear based shape for the pelvis. Then I like to have this cylinder for the abs and the lower back. I like to use a sphere for the rib cage. I like to use spheres for the shoulders, the pectorals, the shoulder blades. I like to have a box-like shape to make the trapezoid muscles. Cylinder for the neck. I like to have 2 spheres for the 2 hemispheres of the skull. Not really hemispheres for it. So you have the top of the skull, and then you have the jaw. So you have the skull and jaw. We have room for the ears, the nose. So we have some material there. I like to have boxes in places for the elbows and the knees. I like to use these cylindrical type things for the limbs. Then a quick model box-like shape for the feet, and of course 2 spheres to make the butt. And I've added this collarbone because I like to have that landmark, and we can always add and remove from this if we need to. But this is a pretty good shape. It doesn't look like anything, so it's not you're not going to have that memory effect I was talking about earlier because it doesn't look like anything. We are going to conform it. The hands will look like this because they are too defined as they are, but hands aren't as important. when you're defining a character as the overall proportions or the face. The face is the thing I want to have the least recognizable between two models. I don't want them to look the same. So I'll have a link in the description if you want to have a go at this model. And now we're going to cut and have a look at me trying it out. Okay, now we're jumping into actually using our Blockout Boy. We are going to be trying to make a base mesh for Spider-Man in the look of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which was a very, very cool movie. I just imported a front view. I'm just going to use that as a rough template. So I'm hiding a few of the polygroups, and then I am moving the upper torso into position just to get things roughly into shape. I'm going to have a quick pass at every little polygroup just to get them into position. This is going to be the first step. Whereas if we were to make this from scratch, the first step would be to actually create all that geometry. So using the insert method, and then just insert multi-mesh, and then just insert a sphere, a cylinder, and so on and so on. So here I sped up the video by 50% because it was dragging on a little bit too much for no real purpose. But yeah, the entire thing took me 45 minutes, and then I spent a bit of time having fun with the model at the end for no real reason. So I've worked on the pelvis, you can see, and here I am blocking out the abs and the back muscles. I do not have a side view reference, so I'm trying to guess. I'm trying to figure out how this flows together from the side view. But here I'm blocking out the rib cage, and trying to give it. Here I'm working too much inside of a void. So here I can see that when I unhide everything, I can see that I was making a hunchback. Doesn't matter. It's so low density, so low geometry that we can fix that. So cutting our rib cage shape using the clip tool, trying to match that line, that rib cage definition we can see on the reference. Using those spheres to create the shape for the pectoral muscles. If I were to do a female character, I would add another set of sphere to make the fatty tissue, but I would still use these spheres to make the pectoral muscles, and then add the fat on top as a different group, different polygroup, because you want to have there are still muscles there, so you want to define the muscles first and then add the fat on top, so it's easier to work in two steps. So here I'm defining the shoulder muscles as big, longer shoulder muscles than most characters. I like to use the move topological tool. Personal preference. It's not that common, especially when you're hiding everything but what you're working on. The move topological brush isn't really necessary, but I think I have a better control on what I'm actually working on when I use it. the fall off and all that just makes more sense to me using the move topological tool brush. But you can use any move tool you want. You just want to give it a rough proportion. Still looks too much like a hunchback, so fixing that up. We work on the collarbone, the shoulder. That rib cage is just too big. Cleared up a bit of the back muscles. Cleaning up that collarbone. What we want is to define some landmarks so that when we dynamesh everything together to create the final base mesh, we want to have where there are big transition lines. We want to have those cuts in. So that's the main reason why you should use a different polygroup, is that you want it to contrast with the polygroup next to it, or it's just easier to manipulate. If you do not know what these are, the polygroups I always use. Here I'm removing the ears and nose because they are not needed on this particular character. You can add and remove as you need. So what was I saying? I don't know. I always tend to use the same shapes. It's a mixture between bones and muscles, or groups of muscles, I should say. Some basic forms I use, like the collarbone or the elbows or the kneecaps. These are bones, and I like to have them defined as landmarks. Here, moving the hands into position, and the basic hands are not too far off from the concept, so that's a plus. You want to have that upper arm flow in that lower arm. Move the elbows into position. So it's a mixture between between bones and muscles. So you could either you could block out the basic skeleton, and then you could block out the basic muscles, and that would give you a more accurate representation if you blocked out every single muscle, or at least every big muscles. If you blocked out the bone, then the biceps, then the triceps, that would give you more refined, more accurate, and more control over the actual look of the arm. Here I'm simplifying upper arm, lower arm, but there is no limit to what you can do to make your block out. And the goal of the block out is not to look nice, is just to hit those landmarks as close as possible. Because we're actually not going to do anything in this particular video, but if we were to keep working on this character, the actual sculpting part comes after. The nice looking post to the social media model is going to come much later down the line. So here you can use as many and as or as little as you need to just achieve the volume, the shapes, the proportions that you're looking for. Then all the intricate detail and work, this is going to come after all this, after the video is ended. Here we're just making the base mesh. So we're working to get the proportions, to get the flow, to get the density and everything more or less into position. So here I'm working on the skull shape. Here on this particular character, there isn't a lot to do with the face, since he's wearing this mask. But usually I would define the the skull and then the jaw, and have that intersection not be where the jaw actually is, but where the eyes are. So you can have a look at a lot of my previous videos and you can have a better look at that. And here I can see on the side view that the head is too much too further back, so we're going to bring it frontwards like so. So yeah, here we're just trying to get everything to be more or less into position. The actual model, and even when this is done, we'll still have a base mesh to work from, so we can always change, make big changes even after all this is done. But here we're trying to get the best result in the least amount of time. And I would say that using this method, using this blockout boy, I think it saved me a good 15 minutes. So this took me, maybe I could have saved even, maybe it saved me even more time. I'm just estimating that yeah, it saved me 15 minutes. So 15 minutes it would have taken me an hour, and this took me 45 minutes. So there is definitely time it's a definite time saver. Not sure I'm going to keep using it. I will be using it at least a couple of times, just because here I'm just trying out something, and I'm sharing it with you, but it's something you need to try, and I'll need to try it in production. So if I ever have a commission for a character that doesn't require using a previous base mesh, this is something I will be using just to try it out and see how much time it can save. Shaping out the legs. I think it could have been a little bit faster if I had more views. If I had a front and a side view, it would have been more accurate and a bit faster. I think here I'm trying to guess how things look from the side. So if you remove the guesswork, this could be a lot faster. So yeah, I think I'll do at least another 2 or 3 sessions using this method. Maybe keep it. Blocking out is something I enjoy. It's something I find soothing. I find relaxing. It's still pretty low stakes. So you're just doodling. You're just going with the flow and just blocking everything out. It doesn't have to look good, but you're still getting some kind of result. So you're starting to have an idea of what it's going to look like. So it's a quick gratification, and that's always nice to keep motivated. So this is something I enjoy, but the process of actually getting the geometry inside is not something I enjoy. So this is why I came up with this idea, because I do not like to go in the insert multi-mesh tool and then laying out the insert and then moving it into position. It's not something I find particularly enjoyable. So that's why I came up with this idea, just to streamline that. Just go straight to creating those shapes. But here we're already having a pretty good idea of the end product, how it's going to look. So I'm missing a bit of definition, so I subdivide once, and it's not looking too good. But again, it doesn't really matter because this is not the actual sculpt. This is just the base mesh creation part. Defining that rib cage look, that rib cage cut, excuse me. Adding more muscles and volume to the chest. Places for the abs. Cleaning up that shape. Neck is a little too cylindrical. Giving a cut for the spine. And you can see how the geometry, the polygon are completely breaking apart in this instance, but it doesn't really matter because again, this is all temporary. It's just a step in the direction we need to take. It doesn't matter if it looks bad because in the end, this geometry is going to be destroyed, and spending time making sure that it's actually looking good is a complete waste of time. You do not need clean topology when you're going to destroy that topology. Flattening the back of the thighs. Trying to match the look. The feet were lacking a lot in polygon density, so when we subdivided, they were completely destroyed, but it doesn't matter. We are going to work with that. A bit of vert massaging there, but doesn't really matter. Yeah, I think I might, in a more refined state, I think I might add a few loops inside of for the feet, because I think they're too low resolution, and anytime I need to subdivide or add more, I think they're a little too low. So maybe just add a little bit more geometry to the feet and maybe a little bit more geometry to the pelvic bone. I think that's something that's also a part of the model that's a bit lacking in density. That density doesn't really matter, but they're too low. So in that particular instance, I think it's a little bit too low. Doesn't really matter, we can make it work. But here I spent 2 or 3 minutes trying to fix the feet, and that's 3 minutes wasted because I completely lost the shape of the feet there. So I think, yeah, just adding a bit more geometry would have kept the overall shape a bit better and would have saved a bit of time. So it's something something. But we're experimenting. We're trying things out. You should always try things out. That's the. I feel that when you're always doing the same thing and you're not trying anything new, that's when you hit your stride. You're not progressing anymore. So depending on who you are, that might be very high. You could be someone very skilled, and even if you're doing always the same thing, you're doing such a good job that it doesn't really matter. But for me, still learning, and I hope I'll be learning for a while, because I enjoy the process. I enjoy trying new things. It's something I like the challenge. I like problem solving. It's something I find enjoyable, trying to come up with solutions and ways to create something. Here we're cleaning up the model slightly. We're closing. We're almost finished at this point. What we're trying to do here is we are trying to so we have the landmarks where the polygroups join together, but we're trying to, with the hard polish brush and to some extent with the pinch brush, what we're trying to do is to give some additional landmarks that are going to be used either for the Dynamesh phase, or most importantly for the Z-remesher phase. If we have some crisp landmarks, it's going to be a bit more accurate of a Z-remesh. Here I'm using the pinch and the hard polish to have the squared off butt, muscular butt. And now we're getting ready to make the Z-remesh, so I'm rotating the arms further apart because I do not want to Z-remesh the model with the arms too close to the body. Giving it some hints of abs. Here we're beginning a very slight sculpting pass. So we're not actually sculpting the model yet, but we can start to work on the flow and fix a few things. Here I'm just cleaning up that underarm because that shoulder, we want that shoulder to be to work a little bit better with what we have now that the arm is further apart. We're gonna have a look at our reference again, just to make sure we're not too far off. Using the clip curves to give ourselves some planes, because the box was too dull, that we didn't have defined faces, so it was a bit harder to work with. So quick clip curves. So now we have our shapes back in. Trying to refine that flow of the legs. And we're pretty good to go. So here I'm Z-remeshing. but I forgot the Dynamesh, so I'll have to do it again. I'm going to give myself a lot of resolution. It doesn't really matter because we're going to be destroying that anyways. I just want to have enough resolution in the Dynamesh so that when we Z-remesh it, we have everything and nothing was destroyed by the lower resolution. Cleaning up all the nasty transitions where some things overlap. Now using the clay and the diamond standard, we're going to start and add a bit of sculptural information. So we're not actually making the final model yet, but it doesn't hurt to fix the overall shape. So this is still going to show up in the Z-remesh anyways. Bit more abs. All of this detail is, sorry. All of this is going to be more or less lost in the actual Z-remesh, so it doesn't really matter. Duplicate it just to have a copy and just to be safe, and then Z-remesh it. And there we go. This is our base mesh. A little error at the bottom. A little thing that popped up at the end at one point. Just clean that up. Select it. And there we have our actual base mesh that we can use to make our Spider-Man. So we can tweak the shape from now on and have a pretty clean mesh. And yeah, that's something we can use. At that point, I'm just having a bit of fun. I'm just going to try out the different rendering tools, but this is pretty much done for this video. So yeah, if you want, I'll have a link in the description where you can try out the Blockout Boy. See if you can speed up your workflow. You can make it. You can make one yourself, and I would encourage you to do so. Do not spend a lot of time on it. You just want to have the basic shapes in there. The topology doesn't matter. I will probably tweak the topology of mine because the feet, as I was saying, is a little bit too light. Too light in polygon density, and it would cost me a bit of time. So, but if you don't go as low as me, you shouldn't have any problems. But anyways, I'll have a link in the description if you want. I'll probably add the Spider-Man base mesh if you wanted to. And yeah, that's going to wrap this up for this video. Might do another one using the updated Blockout Boy and maybe do something a bit different with more side views, maybe something more accurate. Here is just to test out the concept, and I think it proved itself useful to some extent. Just something I'll have to try out a bit more just to be sure if it's worth changing my entire workflow for blocking out characters. Could be. Could be because I did save a good 25% of my time using it. So yeah, something worth exploring. If you guys try it out, please do say so in the comment. Again, I hope you found this useful. I hope you found this inspiring to try things out. Maybe not this exactly. Maybe this isn't for you. Yeah, that's going to wrap things up for me. I'll see you guys in the next one.